Over the last 20 years,
the United States government
has wasted
$2.7 trillion in improper payments.
You need to remember that they are not showing us any of their work or their evidence.
millions and millions of dollars.
If only there were more people, and not just like random dumbass Twitch streamers like myself, actively talking about this.
I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly.
No one elected Elon Musk to nothing. We are here to fight back.
I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam.
You stop that process?
Don't be a
So, if you have been living under a rock for the past few days, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been combing through the government's budget trying to find any fraud, waste, or abuse. Some of the things that they're claiming to have found are pretty insane, but the other side is claiming that Elon Musk doesn't really have any proof of any of this, and that he's not an elected government official, so he doesn't really have any right to be doing any of this. The whole thing has caused an absolute shitstorm, but some of the things that they're saying they've found are pretty ludicrous. So what I want to do is look at some of the things that Musk and Trump are claiming to have found, and then we can dig into how the Democrats are reacting and see if there's any merit to any of this. Before we get started though, if you guys enjoy the video, please drop a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of all this. Okay, so this is kind of the main video. This was an interview inside of the Oval Office with Musk and Trump, where they kind of shared some of the things that they found.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million?
Right.
Etc.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position.
That's kind of odd.
Which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from.
Yeah.
Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps.
I would agree.
But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense.
Yeah.
That's the honest truth of it. Basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently.
Wow. Wait, so basically what Musk is saying here is that we have people who are on do not pay lists that we're still paying, and that a lot of the kind of details the government should be documenting when they're making payments for essentially anything within their spending, a lot of those details aren't there. They're essentially just signing out blank checks and not really filling in any of the information.
And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list.
Why? Why would it take that long?
And we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters on the list. The list is not used. It's mind-blowing. There's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay.
150 years old, people are getting paid Social Security checks. How is this happening within our government? This makes absolutely no sense. I don't know anybody over 95, let alone 100, 105, 110. He's saying we have people that we're paying that are 150 years old. This is pretty, like, if this is true, these are taxpayer dollars that are essentially going to somebody who's collecting a paycheck from somebody that's deceased at this point.
They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, that's a case where, I think they're probably dead. Yeah, that's my guess.
I would agree.
Or they should be very famous, one of the two. And then there's a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, why is there no identifying information? We're told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because
Why is there a limit?
All the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah,
Wait,
there's a
what?
limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government.
So they're processing all the paperwork by hand, and then they send all the paperwork down this elevator mine shaft. And then depending on how fast the elevator goes, that's what determines how many people within the federal government can retire. And what happens if something happens to the elevator, right? Like,
and the elevator breaks down and then sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we can take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else.
Yeah, literally anything would be
add
better
to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way.
As an example, a man has a contract for 3 months, and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years, because nobody ends a contract. You get a lot of that. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years.
we just keep paying it?
And the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years.
Of course not.
They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month, and you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And
That's
I guess you call that
crazy.
incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be a deal's made on both sides, where the guy gets some money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here.
Yep.
I see a lot of kickback here.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
A tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts.
Yeah,
So he has to get
and
a kickback.
keep paying it.
We have a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million. $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants. All illegal, I believe.
That's a lot of
They were
money.
being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket. What are we finding exactly?
Wait. So they're paying double the amount that they should be paying. Whatever the normal room rate is, the government's essentially paying the hotel double that room rate to house people that are essentially illegal aliens. That's just crazy.
A bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans. So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the
I would
fraud
tend to
rings
agree
that are
with that.
operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should stop that.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Musk, you said on X
Yeah.
that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after
million
fact-check
in
this,
condoms.
apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas, actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
How does that make sense? It doesn't matter which country it's going to. It really doesn't. Mozambique, Gaza is for HIV or just out of the pure goodness of our, it doesn't really matter. This is a complete waste of money. And I feel like if people knew that that's where their taxes were going, there'd be so much more anger from all of this.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
But, if it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why
Still
are
a
we
waste of
doing that?
money.
When
Yeah.
you give millions and millions of dollars to somebody that stands to look at something for 15 minutes and walks away with millions of dollars, that money's coming back in some form.
Well, this just in. The guy the Democrats are calling just discovered we were spending thousands of dollars on therapy sessions for transgender refugees in Greece. The State Department spent $2.5 million to reduce emissions from cow flatulence in Brazil. This is a retirement cave. When John Smith from the EPA...
This is the cave. Okay, so this is where they...
His paperwork is buried in this cave. And it takes anywhere from 2 months to 6 months to get it processed. In Texas, it takes 2 days.
Jesus.
The work inside runs at the speed of human fingers and feet. And as slowly now as it did in 1977. There are no state-of-the-art computers.
How is it 2025 and this is how we're processing federal retirement paperwork? In a cave, underground, by hand, down an elevator shaft. No computers, no data, nothing. In 2025, this is absurd.
Bureaucrats use ballpoint pens and reams of paper. Ream after ream after ream.
It's been reported today that media outlets were paid millions of dollars by USAID. Now, the media outlets are saying this is for subscriptions to their publication, but I find that interesting. And one of the particulars that's pointed out, the FDA paid Politico $517,000 for 37 subscriptions.
That's like, what, like 13, 14K a pop or something like that?
Seems kind of high to me. Does that seem that way to you, Mr. Schatz?
Doing the math quickly, that seems excessive, yes.
So Democrats, instead of saying, yeah, we should probably not spend $32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru. Yeah, it's probably not a wise expenditure of taxpayer money to have Sesame Street played in Baghdad, Iraq. It's on all that list.
Wait. So we're spending money on transgender comics and Sesame Street? You cannot make this shit up. This is...
Instead of saying we should figure out how we stop that, they're saying, no. We got to stop the guy who's pointing out the stupid things that government's spending money, taxpayer money.
Over the last 20 years,
the United States government
has wasted $2.7 trillion in improper payments.
Just last year,
$170 billion were overpayments made to dead people,
criminals,
or those no longer eligible for government programs.
Over $44 billion.
$44 billion?
$44 billion.
Over $44 billion were made in payments that could be here or not. They just don't know.
How do they not know? How do they not know? That's my question. How do they not know? It's the federal government. They should know. If anybody should know, it should be them. So what is this? It looks like Musk tweeted, Reuters received far more money than this from the U.S. government. Looks like radical left Reuters was paid $9 million by the Department of Defense to study large-scale social deception. What is that even supposed to mean? Large-scale social deception. $9 million? This is kind of scary, no? Some of the things in there are pretty crazy, in my opinion. I think regardless of which side you're on, Republican or Democrat, to me, I don't really see how you couldn't be upset by hearing some of these things that we're spending our hard-earned taxpayer money on. It just doesn't make sense to me how anybody could find some of these things to be acceptable. So what I want to do now is look at the other side of this and look at how Democrats are responding and maybe what they're saying to counter this and some of the questions that are being asked since all this has come to light. Okay, so let's see how liberals have been responding to this.
Green literally showed a pic in our oversight congressional hearing. So I thought I'd bring one as well. Now this, of course, we know is President Elon Musk. He's also the world's richest man.
Do you think
okay, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty funny.
that calling Elon Musk a is effective messaging?
Well, he is a
Elon, take your musty millions and musty Moscow rights to the moon. Because if you don't, we're going to stand up, we're going to speak out,
this guy's
we're going
pissed.
to march, we're going to do anything we need to do to make sure that the people of this country understand that the CFPB is for them. You get your musty hands off of our money or go to Moscow, you musty moo-moo-moo.
Moscow, you moo-moo.
You mean to tell me a man
worth over $400 billion is going to decide what happens with my grandma's Social
What does that have to do with any of this?
Security check.
No one elected Elon Musk to nothing. And yet, Elon Musk is seizing the power that belongs to the American people. We are here to fight back.
This is the most corrupt bargain we've ever seen in American history. Elon Musk gives $250 million to elect Donald Trump, and Donald Trump turns over the keys to the United States government to Elon Musk and his billionaire friends and his cronies. Are we going to let that stand?
Here's the thing. Donald Trump doesn't need Elon Musk's money is the thing that doesn't make sense about what he's saying. Like, if you look at Donald Trump's net worth, you can see here, Donald Trump has a net worth of $6.8 billion. $250 million from Musk, that doesn't mean anything to Trump. He doesn't care about Musk's money or donations or any of that. He brought Elon Musk on because he thought he was the right guy to do this job.
We know who we work for. We know that we work for the American people. And what we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bullshit that they're trying to pull right now. We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your ass. And we are going to make sure.
We're going to be loud.
We are going to make sure you understand what democracy looks like. And this ain't it. Elon.
Actually, this is what it looks like. This is what the people voted for, right? And people knew like what they were voting for when they casted their votes. Donald Trump has been abundantly clear in what he stands for, what he was going to do, all those kinds of things.
Musk, where are you? Bring your over here so you can see who's here.
This is like a bank robber trying to fire the cops and turn off the alarms just before he strolls into the lobby.
This lady sounds like she's about to have a heart attack.
We are here to fight back.
Stand, unite, and fight. Democracy over oligarchy. Stop the billionaire grift. Nobody elected Elon, and that's why it's important that the American people gather here.
About having 500,000 followers is that when I ask a question, I get a lot of feedback that I get to sift through, you know what I'm saying? So my question for y'all today is, why the did I just watch an unelected billionaire bureaucrat?
This is all they can focus on.
Implementing his own personal agenda. Tell us that he's going after unelected billionaire bureaucrats that are going to implement their own personal agenda. What world is this? This is what I mean by every day. It's some new shit.
Yeah, it sucks to be on the other end of it, huh? Right? After 4 years of being on the other end of it, I got to say it feels good to see people be on the other side now.
Why is he in the Oval Office? Who voted for him?
Nobody voted for him, and nobody has to. Donald Trump appointed him.
Elon Musk and Trump are doing to the government right now is illegal. They do not have the power to go in and just stop funding for stuff. If they do, that means Congress is irrelevant. And what do you have then? It's called a dictatorship.
Okay, here's my issue with this. This is all anybody is focused on is Elon Musk wasn't elected. Elon Musk doesn't need to be elected. I believe it's something like 1,000 or 5,000 appointees or something like that that comes with being the president. If you look here on this article, this is from the Center of Presidential Transition. It says right here that the president's responsible for appointing anywhere from 1,200 to essentially 4,000 appointees. So this idea that Elon Musk wasn't elected, tons of government officials in any presidency, be it Democrat or Republican, are not elected, right? So this is not something new or that just Donald Trump has done. Every president has appointees that they choose for their cabinet. And Elon Musk was who Donald Trump chose for DOGE. And it's not like this was something that was hidden or kept a secret. Donald Trump made this clear before it was even time to vote that he was going to be choosing Elon Musk to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. You can see here in this article from Reuters, funny enough, that Donald Trump said on September 6th, this article came out, that he would be tapping Musk to lead the Government Efficiency Commission if he was elected. So this is not new information. This was not kept secret. Donald Trump made it very clear that he was going to be tapping Elon Musk way before it was time to vote. So all the people who voted for Donald Trump, they knew that this was coming, that this is what was going to happen. The people did choose this. The people did elect this. The people did elect Elon Musk in a certain way. Yeah, he was appointed, but people knew he was going to be appointed.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you comply?
Well, I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And again,
yeah, so there's people saying that because some of the judges may be blocking some of Donald Trump's rulings or executive orders, that basically he's just going to ignore them or figure out his own way to do it or whatever. But obviously Trump's saying that he'll be listening to, any rulings that the judges make and that he'll go about it legally to appeal them.
gives crooked people more time to cover up the books.
Yeah.
If a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes
Yeah, they start covering it up
later on. So, yeah, the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal.
And the Supreme Court told me I couldn't. I found two other ways to do it.
I believe that.
Wait, so Biden said himself in 2024 that he went around the Supreme Court despite being ruled against. So why is it okay for Biden to be doing things that the Supreme Court ruled against and him finding loopholes and ways to go about implementing, whatever policies that he believes to be right? But now when Trump could be finding ways to do that, now it's a big problem, right?
Supreme Court told me I couldn't. I found two other ways to do it.
I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. It is the justices themselves, through the deeply partisan
It's so hypocritical.
and unfounded nature of these rulings.
As long as there is waste and fraud in
Biden
government
used to be pro-Doge.
and serious waste and fraud, people lose confidence in the.
This is from 2011 that Biden was advocating for Doge. So this is crazy. And now here we are with the whole political party claiming that this is illegal, that he doesn't have the right to be doing this. It's ridiculous.
Ability of their government to do their job for them, deal with their taxpayers' dollars. And when taxpayers' money is wasted in a fraudulent behavior, it robs the taxpayers not only of their money, but it undercuts the ability to us to serve the people we're elected to serve.
Right out of Biden's own
The day I
mouth.
took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. At a time when
Obama, too.
families have had to cut back, have had to make some tough decisions about getting rid of things that they don't need in order to make the investments that they do, we thought that it was entirely appropriate for our government.
So this is not a new thing. This is, I mean, when Democrats had control of the office, they chose to go about cutting wasteful spending in ways that they saw fit. Oh, but now when it's time for Republicans to do the same thing, now it's a big deal. It's illegal. We're going to fight back.
And our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way.
All of our actions are maximally transparent.
Oh,
In fact,
man, Hassan's involved too.
Virtually everything that they've tackled in terms of like combating weed.
So for those of you who don't know, Hassan is a pretty large Twitch streamer. I want to say he's usually top 3 to 10 streamers on Twitch at any given, time. And I guess he's giving his take on all of this.
Weird spending habits or whatever are just things that the government spends money on that sounds stupid or is against like the Republican agenda, right? Or
just is stupid, wasteful spending.
even if it's not something against the Republican agenda, the broader Republican agenda, they present it as though it is, right? They'll say like, oh, we're giving condoms to Hamas. That's like a great example of this, right? When that's not the case.
It doesn't matter if it was for Hamas or Gaza or Mozambique. It's irrelevant. It's waste. Why are we spending money on condoms for another country just because it wasn't exactly for where Musk claimed it was for? It's still irrelevant. The point is that this is wasteful spending just because it's not true that it wasn't for Gaza specifically. We're getting hung up on the wrong, point here.
Reproductive health care in Africa is good. It's not a bad thing. However, there is a lot of just insanity in the way that they're targeting things. Like they'll just be like, oh, well, they're giving $40,000 to a Guatemalan transplant. And then you look it up and it's actually like a joint partnership agreement to fund the arts, okay, between a Guatemalan university and an American university. It's like, yeah, that's not fraudulent expenditure.
Okay, same thing. We're getting hung up on specific wording and language and verbiage. Okay, yeah, maybe it's not fraudulent expenditure, but it's wasteful. I think if most people knew that we were spending money between, two universities in Guatemala and all this kind of stuff, I think most American taxpayers would not want to be spending their money on that. So is it fraudulent? Maybe not, but is it wasteful? Yeah, for sure.
You literally brought up fraudulent and wasteful spending, talking about how the federal government offered millions of dollars to New York hotels in order to house migrants. That's not wasteful spending. That's the federal government actually trying to fix the crisis. So what do? They pay hotels to house the migrants.
Again, he gets so hung up on like the verbiage that's being used. Okay. In theory, could there maybe be a world where spending money to house, the migrants is reasonable? Yeah, maybe. But should we be paying double the room rate that the hotel typically receives? No, that's 100% fraud. And at minimum, if not fraud, it's at least wasteful to be spending extra money that a hotel normally wouldn't receive for the same room.
Okay, that is not wasteful spending or fraudulent spending.
Yes,
That's
it is.
just an understandable thing that the federal government did.
When you're paying
If
that
only
much,
there were
it
more
is.
people, and not just like random dumbass Twitch streamers like myself, actively talking about this.
Some of the details that have come out, like the $59 million spent on luxury hotels, it's actually not.
You're talking about the FEMA money that was abused for migrants? FEMA money for migrants, that's okay now?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Don't put words in my mouth.
So would you stop that? Would you stop that process?
Don't be a
So that's the other thing too, is like, we're using FEMA money for this. This is not what these funds are supposed to be used for. These funds are supposed to be for disasters and emergencies and things like that. If you look at what FEMA is for, this is not, these two things do not fit together. They're designed to be there for disasters and respond to emergencies and crises. So we're using fund, and you saw Anderson Cooper couldn't even acknowledge that, yeah, that's what we should be using those funds for. He wouldn't say no, but he also wouldn't say yes, even when pressed about it.
When was the last time Donald Trump was in a press availability where he only got a couple questions and Elon Musk got the vast majority? Didn't seem to be sitting too well with the Commander-in-Chief.
I think if there was any question, Jonathan, about who is the president right now and who is the co-president, at least the semiotics of that scene made that pretty clear. Musk in the position of total dominance. The notion that they were next to each other.
This is such a stretch.
It doesn't really give an accurate picture of what was happening. It had Musk towering over Trump at his desk, kind of looking at Musk's kid, barely kind of contributing to the conversation.
Look, I love how they choose this particular snippet of the video where Donald Trump has this smug look on his face, and they're trying to make it out as if he's upset or annoyed that people are talking to Musk and not to him. Anybody who watched the interview, as we saw at the beginning when we watched, some of those clips, Trump had asked Musk to speak on what he found and what's going on. It's not like Musk just weaseled his way in and took over the interview from Trump. I mean, this is such a stretch. It's crazy. So I went back and pulled some of the clips from the beginning of the interview, and here's what Trump said leading into it, asking Musk to speak on this.
And I'm going to ask Elon to tell you a little bit about it and some of the things that we found, which are shocking. Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse. I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions. Elon, go ahead.
See, it's such a stretch to say that Musk was towering over him and taking his spotlight. It's just crazy narrative.
He made dozens of totally unsupported statements, largely to justify what he's been doing, while providing no backup whatsoever, and saying then we are the most transparent. I don't know of an organization ever that's been more transparent than we are.
When you hear President Trump talk about massive amounts of fraud, abuse, and waste that DOGE has found, you need to remember that they are not showing us any of their work or their evidence.
So essentially they're saying that there's no proof or evidence that anything that they're claiming is true at all. You can see here, even the New York Times is writing that Oval Office, Musk makes broad claims of federal fraud without any proof. So I figured we could go through and look at some of the things that have come out. There was an interview that came out with the press secretary for President Trump, and my understanding is they seem to have brought some proof or evidence or something like that to this interview. So let's take a look.
JJ. On DOGE and the fraud claims, Elon Musk in the Oval yesterday gave us some information on that. We're just wondering if there's some proof, evidence. Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure. I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday. I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to DOGE. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what DOGE is doing. There is an X account with the DOGE handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going out the door. And I would also say that before it was Elon Musk making our government efficient and accountable, it was some unnamed bureaucrat that none of you knew.
Yeah.
As for the actual receipts,
this isn't new. The DOGE and the Department of Government Efficiency and all this kind of stuff, cutting wasteful spending, this isn't new. It's just before it wasn't so publicly scrutinized because it wasn't somebody famous like Elon Musk.
we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOGE found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a council for inclusive innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOGE identified.
How are we wasting our money on this?
I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one. $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing.
This is not in America's best interest to be spending money on climate change in Sri Lanka.
Are the line items across the federal government that DOGE is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what DOGE is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the mine. I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to DOGE. And I also have a DOGE daily report if anybody would like it.
And then we can see this one here. This is a screenshot of the contract for the Reuters payment. It looks like, you know, before Trump had made the claim that they had paid this out, but there was no evidence. But now it looks like here is a screenshot of the contract where the DOD did in fact pay Reuters, apparently according to Trump, $9 million for large scale social deception. I mean, that sounds pretty scary to me. That sounds like something very corrupt, and I think if most Americans knew about this, they'd be scared. And then we have this one, another 167 cancellations with savings of 115 million. Another probably DEI equity assessment of existing programs policy. So yeah, another DEI initiative. And these are things that should be earned, not given to somebody because they happen to fit a statistic. These are things that we should be choosing the right person that fits and is most qualified and has the best skills for whatever it is. Like I said, work, school, anything else that you can think of. That's pretty much it, guys. Overall, I think a lot of the things that they found are really surprising and honestly kind of concerning. And I also think there's plenty of evidence to support these claims that Trump and Musk are making. I think a lot of the things that Democrats are saying is frankly just a lot of hypocrisy. But drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of all this and where you stand. And know that if you made it this far into the video that I truly appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one.